due course. Okay, so outer outer space lifestyle, how to scratch your latent astronaut itch, or in some of our cases, non-astronaut itch, actual astronaut itch without leaving Earth. I'm Kirby Runyon, PhD. I'm a planetary geologist, zero-G coach, space tour guide, outer space lifestyle advisor. So you might ask, why pursue an outer space lifestyle? And this is related to an op-ed I had published in the Baltimore Sun, my local newspaper, about 2 years ago. And in my opinion, you might as well ask, why make music? A quote that I pulled from my op-ed piece, you can scan this QR code and go see it yourself, is that being fully human is not just meeting physical needs. It is also pursuing that which feeds our souls and makes us rich in thought, rich in experience, rich in that which is ineffable. So some bullet point ideas why we might want to live an outer space lifestyle is the transcendent awe. I think everyone is kind of blown away by a starry night sky, by the thought of infinity or close to infinity, and of experiencing an environment that's utterly alien than that on Earth. There's also my brand of informed enthusiasm. In my opinion, you get to live a more enthusiastic lifestyle. You get to have some information go along with that, and that can boost your everyday experience of life. There's also just the excitement of space exploration, of space experiences. And then, of course, becoming rich in intangible qualities. Oh, and the same reason, whatever reason that we seek out art, music, entertainment, sporting events, whatever reason is behind that, I submit that that's also the same reason that we explore space, and that if you live an outer space lifestyle, it could enhance your overall quality of living. You know, a funny thing happened to me while doing my PhD. I was a student at Johns Hopkins University, and I discovered that I seemed different. I thoroughly enjoyed the topic of my PhD, studying the rocky landscapes on the moon and Mars, and even asteroids around the solar system, including the planet Pluto. But I discovered that I really was not content with simply pursuing academic knowledge about space. Sure, we could do geologic mapping on Pluto. We could do experiments simulating impact cratering. But I wanted more than knowing about space. I wanted to experience space. And what I discovered about myself was that just as you can read a biography about a person and know a lot about them, you still don't know the person. I wanted to know space the way you might know a person. Now, space, I'm not trying to anthropomorphize space, but I wanted to experience space and not just have it be a mind game for me. And I felt a little different from a lot of my peers and colleagues, and still do, with my passion for kind of getting that feel for space. So this is just a very broad overview of my presentation tonight, but the outer space lifestyle can be all encompassing. It can include TV. It can include your clothes. It can include even wearing a Darth Vader ugly Christmas sweater like tonight. It can include stargazing, naked eye, just looking up at the moon, stars, and planets using binoculars or telescope. These things I've listed so far are free or very cheap. So these are elements of the outer space lifestyle that anyone can do. There's also social media. There's news websites. There's things like even going to conferences like the Space Tourism Conference. And I'll talk more about that in a minute. So the TV could include, it's as simple as watching Star Trek. I'm really enjoying Strange New Worlds. I'm also really enjoying all the Star Wars shows that are on right now. This is part of living an outer space lifestyle. There's also social media. JohnLewis.art is one of my favorites. He's a space artist in Miami. I met him on a zero-G flight, and he makes and sells all kinds of fanciful art involving astronauts, flowers, and love. So just following him on Instagram is one way. Scott Manley is one of my favorite YouTubers. He's a PhD astrophysicist turned YouTuber and explainer of all things space. Watching his YouTube channel has been thoroughly educational and entertaining. He also has a fantastic Scottish accent. A very underrated YouTube channel I'd like to get to see some more traction is The Digital Astronaut by Jared Belcher. And his videos are super high quality. He only posts about once a month, but it's definitely quality over quantity when it comes to The Digital Astronaut. There's also just following the latest news, just a simple news website, nasa.gov. That's the US government agency website for following NASA. And just following nasa.gov can be part of an outer space lifestyle. Spacenews.com, part of that outer space lifestyle. Even joining the Planetary Society, or even if you don't join, you can at least swing by the website planetary.org. And you can buy space fashion and accessories like these James Webb Space Telescope hexagonal mirror earrings. Speaking of the Planetary Society, this is a rather inexpensive way to live an outer space lifestyle. It's only about $50 a year, but the Planetary Society co-formed by none other than Carl Sagan, and whose CEO is Bill Nye. Yes, that Bill Nye the science guy. When you join the Planetary Society, you actually support NASA in Congress by supporting good information flowing to members of Congress. You get I know we're sort of in the digital age, but there's still this fantastic quarterly magazine that comes to your house with incredible photographs from the solar system. This is a picture of Mars's moon Phobos orbiting over Mars. You can also join the National Space Society about the same price. And they do events and have educational stuff. And when I say educational, I'm not just talking for the classical in-school student. I'm talking about lovers of lifelong learning. That's the kind of education I'm really talking about. You can attend conferences such as the Space Tourism Conference. My first one was last year, 2023, great fun. So I encourage you to join the Space Tourism Conference. I encourage you to go to conferences or really parties like Yuri's Night every April. The largest ones of these are in Los Angeles and at the Kennedy Space Center in Florida. These are equal parts cool and weird, from science fiction to science fact. Astronauts, scientists, engineers, dance party by a space shuttle. Just an incredibly fun time. Okay, now let's pause for a moment. Let's start pivoting to let's do a deeper dive here. Let's pretend you're an astronaut on the moon or Mars. Look around you. What do you see? Pretty much everywhere you look, you see rocks. Rocks, I would posit to you, are not boring, but the study of rocks is geology. Geology is certainly not confined to Earth. Geology is everywhere in the universe. There's something crunchy, and that could be rock or ice or metal. So if you're an astronaut or a rover on Mars, you look around, you see different types of rocks. You see sand. This is in Gale Crater on Mars. This is a sand dune that the Curiosity rover explored. Some of these sand dunes even blow in the wind. And you can all these images are free for anyone to download from NASA's various websites. Maybe you're in the distant future, maybe astronauts will orbit Saturn and they'll see Saturn's moon Titan shrouded in this orange atmospheric haze that doesn't allow you to see the surface. But if you had infrared or radar eyes, you could peer through that orange haze and you could see these vast fields of sand dunes all across the surface of Titan. And in fact, in the early 2000s, the European Space Agency landed the Huygens space probe on Titan, and we got one and only one very low resolution picture of what it would look like to stand on the surface of Titan. Imagine you're an astronaut on the moon. We've sent 12 astronauts to the surface of the moon, and we're sending more here pretty soon with the Artemis program. This is a lava river carved in a lava plain, and you can see astronaut Dave Scott standing by his electric lunar all-terrain vehicle lunar rover in August of 1971. Apollo 17, fellow geologist to me, Jack Schmitt, PhD in geology, exploring near a crater here with his all-terrain vehicle electric rover in the background here. Imagine you're an astronaut here. Here's a view over Valles Schroederi, one of the largest cooled lava rivers on the moon. Flowing into the ocean of storms, lava flood. But you don't have to just imagine that you're an astronaut on these places. In some sense, you can visit the moon and Mars and Titan without ever leaving Earth. This is a picture of the shadows of several Virgin Galactic future astronauts and myself. My shadow is third from the left. We're all pointing spaceward. I was privileged enough, very fortunate enough to get to do some of the geology training for a number of Virgin Galactic ticket holders who are flying to space. And we were exploring White Sands National Park, which is kind of a stand-in for some of the sand dune fields on Mars and Titan. These are just places you can go. It's a national park. And if you're interested in visiting places like this with me and getting a planetary perspective, I'm hosting 2 trips, January 4 through 7 and February 16 through 18. The tour fee is $1,250. You can scan this QR code, take a screenshot of this slide, scan that QR code later, and simply indicate your interest. There's only 5 or 6 slots per trip. So I take the first people who both indicate interest and pay a 10% deposit at pay.planx.space. Also email me for instructions on how to pay that deposit. You can go sledding down the dunes here. This is with the Virgin Galactic trip 2 years ago. Again, scan this QR code, January 4th through 7th and February 16th through 18th, $1,250. The sites are just spectacular. I know some of you on this call have joined me on this trip, and you can attest to how incredibly beautiful it is and how, we as people we individually will probably never go to Mars, but we can start to understand the sand dunes of Mars better by visiting accessible places on Earth like this. I see there's a question, and I'm going to attempt to answer that in real time if possible. I've been informed I'm not sharing my screen. Is that true? Give me a thumbs down emoji if people cannot see my screen. Okay, Perrin can't see it. Is anyone else? Mark Wagner says you can see it. Okay, Jonathan Stroud, Ron, other people can see it. Okay, so other people are seeing my screen. Perrin, I'm sorry, I don't know what to tell you. Thank you. So I'm interpreting all people's thumbs up to mean that you can see my shared screen. If you can't see it, I've been informed you cannot. You might have to update Google Meet. But contact me later, and I can share the slides with you. I can't help you here. Sorry. Okay. Okay, so on these trips that I lead, I give a college level introductory lecture to the participants. This is me doing this at a past trip with my business partner, Mark Wagner, on this, who's on this call. Hello, Mark. And we lead trips for in this case, teachers to get to come along and get some out of the classroom professional development. And so this is me going over the science of sand dune fields and the similarities that they bear to Mars and Titan. And we time our visits here to coincide with sunset. And the sunsets here are sublime. They are mesmerizing. And you can also envision what sunsets on Mars or Titan might look like. One of the cool places about these locations is that they're not only planetary analogs or stand-in for other planetary features, they're also what suborbital astronauts see when they launch into space over Spaceport America with Virgin Galactic or with Blue Origin. If you look out the window from suborbital space, either from Spaceship Unity or from New Shepard capsule, you could easily see white sands. You could see this Carrizozo lava flow, the San Andres Mountains. You can see where you launched from, Spaceport America, the Jornada del Muerto lava flow, which is just south of the Trinity site where the first nuclear weapons were tested. Towards the south is also these geologic features, Aden Crater and Kilbourne Hole, which are both analogs to features on the moon, Mars, Jupiter's moon, Io, and other places. Zooming in on Carrizozo, you can visit the Valley of Fires recreation area. And again, if I'm whetting your appetite, this QR code has been the same. You can scan that and indicate your interest. And then make sure you contact me about paying a 10% deposit to lock in your spot there. From the ground, you get to explore lava tubes, like miniature versions of one thing that might enhance future astronaut exploration. You get a sense for the huge volume of lava flooding that has occurred in this area. This lava flow is 45 miles long, and it's extremely reminiscent of some of the lava flooded plains we get on both the moon. The moon has had tons of volcanic eruptions, and Mars. Mars has also had tons of volcanic eruptions, as has Jupiter's moon, Io. And Venus, and really a lot of places. But we talk about lava textures and how to really read the landscape here. I like to tell people that geology is a forensic science. It's one of the only natural sciences that tries to piece together natural history. A crime scene investigator will look at clues at a crime scene and try to reconstruct past events. A geologist does the same thing. We read the rock record. Something happened here to leave the landscape the way it is. And And by piecing together the clues we see, like the Pohoihoi flow ropes on this piece of tilted basalt from this inflation tumulus. If I'm saying words you don't understand and want to understand, get in touch with me and maybe consider coming on a tour. I'd be happy to teach you the science of geology and reading the history, the natural history in the rock record, the way a forensic investigator investigates a crime scene. Again, I present kind of a college level overview at each site. There's no better classroom, especially for planetary geology, planetary experiences, than out amongst the rocks where the rocks live. Just some more great scenes from one of the trips that we took with teachers that Dr. Mark Wagner and I are coordinating. By the way, we have another teacher trip, March 14 through 18. For teachers, the price is slightly lower. We keep it under $1,000 for teachers, but contact me and Dr. Mark Wagner for more information on that. These places that we explore in New Mexico are very similar to, say, Ascarius or Pavonis Mons on Mars. There's a more famous Olympus Mons, the largest volcano in the solar system. But this crater, this summit caldera at the top of this volcano is stupendously huge. And we visit a miniature version of this crater in New Mexico. This is a simulated view from Google Mars at the summit of this volcanic crater here. And if you visit me on one of my tours, we take some off-road vehicles and we go to Aden Crater, or at least we try to get to Aden Crater. It's a difficult drive and it is out in the boonies, but it is an incredibly alien landscape. I was out here with a friend and Virgin Galactic future astronaut who's a fellow geologist, and we explored. This is the uplifted volcanic rim of Aden Crater with this fantastic volcanic landscape behind us. Even though this is a small volcanic crater by solar system standards, it is still truly awe-inspiring to climb around these rocks. Nearby Aden Crater is Kilbourne Hole, which is a volcanic steam explosion crater, and it's over a mile across. I was actually on a cross-country flight out of Tucson back to where I live on the East Coast, and we flew right over Kilbourne Hole, and I got this picture. Here's from the ground at Kilbourne Hole, explaining the geology we see to a number of teachers. And I do this trip also, like I said, I keep mentioning my friend and business partner, Mark Wagner, on here. And you can really see where different types of geologic eruptions have occurred. There's lava flows, and right above there is this volcanic ash that was blown in the violent wind of the explosion. Places on Mars certainly had explosions like this. Places on the moon have had explosions like this. You get to peer inside the inner workings of the moon and Mars, and even places like Venus and Io when you visit New Mexico and other places. There's also these really cool green rocks you can pick up by Kilbourne Hole. These are called mantle xenoliths with the mineral olivine gem variety peridot. Come talk to me if you want to learn more about that. Like I said, I've got 2 upcoming tours at the $1,250 price. January 4 through 7, February 16 through 18. We base ourselves out of El Paso, Texas. We stay in a nice hotel. There's no camping involved. We drive around in a Suburban or a Chevy Tahoe, and we stay nice and comfy, even as we go to some, in some cases, fairly inaccessible places. So you can visit my website, planx.space/astronautgeology to find out more, or scan this QR code to fill out the indication of interest form, which is a Google form. And again, the first 5 or 6 people for each date who also pay a 10% deposit, you will thereby reserve your seats for that. This is both the landscape of and from space. Suborbital astronauts launching to space with Virgin Galactic, shown here, can look out the window and see these locations. This is a view on the upper right from Sir Richard Branson's private space flight in summer of 2021. And you can easily see Carrizozo lava flow and White Sands National Park. This is out the back view of the spaceship. And I understand sitting on the left when you're facing forward, pilot's side of the spaceship gives you a better view of these geologic landforms. Again, I think I've already shown this slide. So now, speaking of Virgin Galactic and launching to space, there's both what you see out the window, which you can also experience on the ground, whether you're an astronaut or not, but there's also experiencing a space launch on Earth, albeit not on the ground. I was fortunate enough to get to experience this last month in Las Vegas, Nevada, and I'm going to play this video for you now about my experience. Okay, so I'm here in North Las Vegas, Nevada. This is Huntley right here. We're going flying together in this, which is a Extra 330 LC.
Yeah.
All right, so we were doing zero gravity pushovers. We were doing 5G pull-ups, which is more G's than astronauts feel on launch. And then we were doing zero gravity pushovers, and I was playing with my Virgin Galactic bracelet, in weightlessness as we were going over this parabolic arc. Now you're strapped in the whole time, and you can't float around. But at $500 to $1,200, this is overwhelmingly one of the most affordable ways to experience the acceleration of spaceflight. The barf bag I did not use. This is with a company called Sky Combat Ace, and they do a good show. If you someone just raised their hand, go ahead and type a question. Go ahead and type a question if you have a question there, and hopefully I can get to that. But I'm working on a relationship with the company Sky Combat Ace. Don't have it in place yet, but working on that. I just asked them, can you guys simulate a space launch? Can you do a high G pull-up maneuver followed by a zero G pushover, preferably while you're inverting the plane so I can see the ground above me weightlessly? And they did, and it was amazing. I love it, and hope to do it again sometime. There's also other ways to experience the thrill of a space launch. That's at the NASTAR Center outside of Philadelphia, Pennsylvania, the National Aerospace Training and Research Center. One of the things that they have is the STS-400 centrifuge. It's a human centrifuge with a projection screen. They can simulate the launch. They can simulate the acceleration profile of any rocket or fighter plane. And I have been fortunate enough to go on 2 spins in this, pulling over 6 Gs before. Here's my video.
Operator, please confirm VG space profile is loaded. VG space profile confirmed and loaded. Kirby, are you ready? I'm ready. Okay, operator, please commence flight. All right, Kirby, you're flying at 50,000 feet, suspended from the White Knight 2 carrier aircraft. She'll tell you you're releasing, nothing to do there. She'll count you down to rocks, okay? Okay. Release from White Knight 2, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1.
Okay, we're pulling over 4 Gs there. I'm grunting and straining so that I don't black out. Now we're simulating re-entry with Virgin Galactic, and we're going to hit over 6 Gs here. Watch my face. So that's part of living an outer space lifestyle. If that's of interest to you, it's in the $6,000 to $7,000 ballpark range there for that training. I was fortunate enough to get to be a medical test subject, and that was through an organization that used to be called the Astronauts for Hire, which I believe has changed their name. I've lost touch with them a little bit, but that was through their organization. Also at NASTAR Center, you can do what's called hypoxia training. See how your body reacts to a lack of oxygen. And this is something that high altitude pilots have to go through to understand the physiological and cognitive changes that happen when you don't have a lot of air. And that's what it sounds like, if you can hear it. Turns out my body doesn't like a lack of oxygen, but you do get to sound like Darth Vader while you're there. So there's, an upside to everything, I suppose. I didn't get the price from NASTAR on this, so I'm not sure what that is. Something that's a little bit more accessible, but that's kind of space related. This is a borderline case, but you can do indoor skydiving with the company iFly. And that's about, that's $69 on sale. And it's not quite like space, but it's fun. And this is me. And that's about 120-mile-an-hour wind blowing you up. I've done skydiving too, and I don't care for it. It feels too dangerous, but this is a lot of fun and it's safe. Okay. And fun little fact here, you don't have to be a kid to go to space camp. There's adult space camp, adult space academy. It's rather affordable at $699 per person. That's cheaper than geology trip tours with me. So this is a bargain. I did this in high school. I did regular space camp. It was Advanced Space Academy for minors. I did this I was 16 when I did this, and it was amazingly fun. But getting to do space camp as an adult would be a lot of people's dreams comes true, and it would be part of living an outer space lifestyle. There's also private VIP tours of the Kennedy Space Center. Of course, you can go as a regular guest. That's no problem. But let me just back up a little bit. Going to museums, planetariums, several of the NASA space centers around the country, that's certainly part of living an outer space lifestyle. Other people like my mentor John Spencer have termed this like Earth space tourism, and it counts even though it doesn't go to space. If you wanting to pay a little bit more, my business partners, Elizabeth Schneider and Bob Hudgens over at Galactic Medallion in Titusville, Florida, can arrange for exclusive luxury, expertly guided tours of the Kennedy Space Center, where yours truly would be one of the the only PhD expert, showing people around the Kennedy Space Center and really connecting, especially with all things moon. The Kennedy Space Center is where people and things leave Earth, but then I like to connect people to what they do or experience once they've left Earth, and especially focusing on the moon. The prices range from about $1,500 to $3,500, and that depends on whether or not you choose to take one of our chartered helicopters from Orlando to right outside the Kennedy Space Center at the Titusville Regional Airport. So the helicopter tours are a lot of fun. There's our bird right there, galacticmedallion.com, or contact me for information about how to do one of these VVIP Kennedy Space Center tours with backdoor access and potentially even in a really incredible helicopter flight over from Orlando. In fact, when you're coming over in the helicopter, you sometimes get to approach the shuttle landing facility and see the same view that astronauts saw from space coming back to Earth. So it was pretty awe-inspiring to have that view of the shuttle that shuttle crews saw throughout the 80s to 2000s. Once you're at the Kennedy Space Center, you can tour around. This is a capsule of the New Shepard capsule that Blue Origin flies private astronauts to space in. This is brand new. I was just at the Kennedy Space Center a couple weeks ago, and this was brand new on the floor there. So fun time to, this is yet another way to have that outer space lifestyle. Of course, a really fun way is to get to experience weightlessness, where you get to unstrap. And this is with the company Zero G, GoZeroG.com. And you can also use my promo code KirbyPlanX. Planx is the name of my company, for 5% off. Here I am. One of the cool things, if you use my promo code, a bunch of things happen. One, if you do it this calendar year and you buy a gift card, if you buy a gift card, the 2024 flight schedule has not yet come out, but you can lock in 2023's prices and get 5% off if you use my Kirby Plan X promo code. Prices are going up in 2024, but you can get a 2023 base price if you buy a gift card. And again, use my promo code. When you use my promo code, it also allows us to connect one-on-one. We'll do a one-on-one Zoom call, and I'll share with you your pre-mission briefing on solar system exploration, how the gravity you're going to experience in the plane connects you and relates to the exploration of Mercury, Mars, 5 or 6 moons in the solar system, asteroids, and of course, free space. One of the underrated gravity experiences, in my opinion, is the experience of Mars gravity, which, fun random space fact, is the same gravity level as the planet Mercury, 38% the gravity of Earth. And this is what it looks like in parabolic flight. You can do a push-up into a standing position, and objects fall slowly, sort of. You can face plant, and it doesn't hurt. So that's Mars and Mercury gravity. That's a lot of fun. Of course, you can also, so here's Mars and Mercury shown to scale. Mars is half the size of Earth, and Mercury is about 2/3 the diameter of Mars, but they have the same gravity. And whereas we've sent tons of flyby spacecraft, orbiters, landers, rovers, and even a helicopter to Mars, we've only ever sent one orbiter to Mercury, Messenger, and just a couple spacecraft that have flown by, Mariner 10 and Bepi Colombo, which is a European spacecraft, but that will go into orbit soon. You can also experience moon gravity, not just the gravity of our moon, but the gravity of 5 other moons in the solar system. This video is kind of what lunar gravity looks like in parabolic flight. It's only 17% the gravity of Earth. It is way lower. It feels, even though it's 1/6 the gravity of Earth, it subjectively feels 1/10 the gravity of Earth. In some sense, it almost feels more like weightlessness. And it's a lot of good fun. Objects fall ridiculously slowly. But when you experience the gravity of moons, it's connecting you to these worlds in the solar system. Of course, Earth's moon, view from Apollo 17 shown on the bottom. But the 4 large moons of Jupiter, the Galilean moons, Io, Europa, Ganymede, and Callisto, all have roughly the same gravity as does Saturn's moon Titan. Titan's about 1/7 the gravity of Earth. But, ballpark, all of these moons have about the same gravity level. Io on the far upper left there, that's the most volcanically active, dare I say it, planet in the solar system. It's got volcanoes belching out all the time. The middle, the left 2 moons, Europa and Ganymede, both have liquid water, saltwater oceans underneath that icy crust. And Europa in particular is a strong candidate for being a habitable environment in the solar system and possibly an inhabited environment in the solar system. Callisto there, shown in kind of the middle, might have a liquid water ocean. We're not sure yet. We've got some spacecraft going back here. Europe's Jupiter Icy Moons Explorer, or JUICE spacecraft, will be getting there in the early 2030s, and NASA's Europa Clipper spacecraft will be getting there around 2029 or 2030. There's also Saturn's moon Titan. We've mentioned this before. It's got that thick orange haze around it, and NASA's Dragonfly octocopter nuclear-powered drone will be flying there in 2035. But again, this QR code will take you to I think this takes you to the gift card site. Don't forget to use my promo code KirbyPlanX for 2 things: 5% off, lock in 2023 prices when they're going to go up in 2024, and allow us to connect on a one-on-one Zoom call, and I'll try to enthuse even more, wax informed enthusiastically about solar system exploration. And of course, we do asteroid gravity, aka weightlessness, and that's quite a lot of fun as well. Here's me and a koosh ball. Weightlessness is a lot of fun. Okay, so I've got some bullet points here. So 2023 prices, this price over $9,500, including tax. Again, I can save you 5% off with my promo code. And if you get a gift card that locks in 2023 prices, 2024 flight schedule will be up soon on gozerog.com. And okay, I'm just belaboring this at this point now. Okay, so that brings me to basically near the end here. Let's review. If you want to live an outer space lifestyle, first of all, why might you want to do that? To enhance your view of the universe, enhance your sense of awe, your sense of enthusiasm, your sense of excitement. You can do that through social media channels, space news websites, space fashion, like Darth Vader ugly Christmas sweaters, membership organizations like with the Planetary Society or the National Space Society, and there's others as well. Conferences and parties like Yuri's Night or the Space Tourism Conference or New Worlds. There's actually a ton of these things. The Analog Astronaut Conference is one of these you can go to. Zero-G flights and gift cards. There's astronaut geology field trips. My website, planx.space. NASTAR centrifuge training and hypoxia training. Stunt plane flights. Again, I went with Sky Combat Ace. I have noticed that Virgin Gifts, as in Virgin Galactic, that Virgin, but like a different company, virgingifts.com. They list other stunt plane flight providers as well. Galactic Medallion VIP tours and helicopter flights. And if I piqued your curiosity enough and you're not ready to buy anything, I invite you to stay informed. I send out a roughly twice per month newsletter, the Outer Space Lifestyle newsletter. I'm not spammy about it. It's only twice a month. You can fill out this form, this Google form, scan this QR code and fill it out. And I'd be happy to take any questions. You can type it into the question right now, and I'll see if I can actually allow people to unmute and turn on their cameras. I think we're past the point of being worried about Zoom bombers. So I'll go ahead and you can unmute, turn on your mic, but I do ask that you raise your hand. Use the raise hand question first, raise hand button first, and I'd be happy to call on you and continue this conversation. But that's all the content I have. Hope you'll stay in touch. Thanks for joining, and I'll conclude it here unless you want to stay on and ask questions or chat. Have a great night, everyone. But I'll stay on for a while. Thank you, Mark. John, did you raise your hand? Oh. Yeah. Hey, Ron, go ahead.
Hey, Kirby, just thought I'd say hi.
Oh, hi. Good to see you. Thanks for joining.
Sure. Pretty well covered there. I can't think of anything you didn't mention.
Wow. Great. Okay.
Yeah, maybe visiting launch sites. Yeah, but they're hard to get to.
Visiting launch sites. Yeah, sure.
Yeah.
Yeah, Mark and I have chatted about that, like leading trips to maybe go to Vandenberg or some other places.
Yeah.
But I've noticed that there's groups that will like charter boats to kind of get a marine view of launches. I know that's been popular at the Cape and also for the last Starship launch.
Yeah, I saw a couple people that went to Starship, and that would be something. Yeah. Hey, Mark.
Hey, Ron.
Yeah,
hold on, Kirby. I want to do all of it.
Yeah, cool.
Yeah.
Who had the question earlier? Is she still on? Able to ask?
Who's that? Who's that, Mark?
Oh, I don't know. Somebody who had the question earlier, but wasn't able to put it in the chat at the time.
Oh.
Whoever raised their hand, I forget who that was.
Yeah. Well,
but it's good to see Jonathan and Keith here too.
Yeah.
I don't think I know the others.
Loretta and I met after the Space Tourism Conference at John Spencer's.
Awesome. Nice.
Yep.
Yeah, I've never been to that. I thought I might go next year, maybe.
Hi there, Keith.
Multitasking.
Totally understand. Keith shared with me this really fantastic article about his experience at Everest Base Camp while his astronaut buddy, was it Scott Parazinski?
Yeah, that's why you say it's an astronaut thing, because I had an astronaut with me, so everything else is automatically space lifestyle.
Sure. Well, you also had moon rocks with you, so that counts.
I smuggled them into Nepal. Scott smuggled them out. So it's
Huh?
there's no process to do it. And that's how he met his current wife.
Oh, wow.
It's a long story. It's a long story.
Okay, interesting.
I only admit to having done it now that I've done it, and the only problem is you sign this little form. It says I will return the rocks. I didn't. I gave them to somebody else, so technically I have to go get them, and they're on the space station. So I have a plan. Yeah.